Free. One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. So let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in its soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report he pays his way. Oh, legend in the making, day by day.
Bam! Much love and respect to everybody coming out and hanging out with us. Oh, and I shouldn't have it on move. I shouldn't have it on move. Hold on. Give me a second. Boom. How do you guys like the new song, by the way? I had that made today. All right, chat. So this was the very first time ever playing it. So you guys are actually the first of the bunch. The very first bunch heard it on Instagram. I put it on Instagram as like a test to see what you guys would think. And yeah, man, we're having a good time. We have a very special couple of guests that are coming on tonight. We have Dr. Harley, the man, the myth, the legend himself, and Bri the biker in for tonight. We're going to be talking about conquering YouTube. And YouTube is one of those hard things to figure out. It's like a science behind everything. And just like any other platform, you know, so we're going to be diving deep into this topic a little bit because well, mainly that not only are we all on social media here, but we're also YouTubers. Dr. Harley, I appreciate that as well with Bry saying that the song is fire. I appreciate you guys. Digging the intro. Appreciate that. No, I'm glad that you guys like it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on our two guests, our special guests. Today, what's going on, gentlemen?
That music is off the hook.
I
it is,
appreciate
man.
that.
I was rocking out to it. Go,
Yeah, that's right.
Pookie, that's totally fire.
Hey man, there's a little specialty I'll give you guys off the
Love
screen.
it.
I'll show you guys some of the special stuff that you can do and make and stuff like that. So, but I happen to make that, and so it's just a matter of sitting down and doing it.
It's really good, man.
I wanted to bring up the level a little bit, production value. I appreciate that, and that's another thing with YouTube in itself and content creation is like forever nonstop thinking of like new ways to integrate and make yourself a better entertainer / influencer / whatever you want to call yourself. That's something that like we're nonstop looking for is something to better. And they always say within one video you should be trying to become 1% better. And if you can do that, then it's amazing. But it's a lot of the times, a lot of people, let's say they're making videos or live streaming, a lot of the times they're not really, bettering themselves each time. They're almost repeating the same thing over and over again. And so that's something that I am always trying to do. And I see you guys doing that as well. You guys constantly are trying to upgrade your guys's, whether it be equipment, whether it be production value and stuff like that. So, first of all, before I really dive deep in this, Bry and Dr. Harley, I both want you guys to introduce yourselves for the people that don't know and how long you guys have been on YouTube now.
Take it, Doc. It's all you, sir.
I was going to say, Bry, the honor's all yours.
No, I insist, sir. It's all you.
Oh, okay. If you insist. I'm Dr. Harley. I have the YouTube channel, Dr. Harley. I've been, February 3rd was my 2-year anniversary for YouTube. And, I've always dabbled with Facebook and Instagram. And, I decided to start my channel just to have fun and create a video library or diary, as you will, for myself. And if anybody cared to watch and they enjoy and get value out of it, that's a bonus for me. I mean, that's why I do it, is to help our community, work on their own bikes. And hopefully I inspire some people to get out there instead of paying the dealership prices. And
it inspires me.
Yeah. I mean, get out there, do it yourself. I mean, it's not that hard. You just have to take your time. One of the best comments I got was last week's video from a guy named John Tappett said, "You make it look so easy that I can even do it," And I said, well, one, it's the experience why I make
and
it
looks can be deceiving.
Yeah. I mean, I've been working and wrenching on vehicles since I was, 14 years old. And, that's 40 years now. I've been wrenching on.
You old.
Yeah, I'm old. And that's why it looks so easy to me, is because, I've been doing it so long and I've done a lot of these projects over and over and over again.
Totally.
Like tonight's video, I've never done one of those installs. And I told everybody, this is the first time I did it. And I went by the directions. And when I drilled into that guy's saddlebag, man, I was so nervous because if I mess that up, too. I'm buying a painted saddlebag.
Yeah, and that's not a cheap mess up if that happens. Yeah, for sure. And so being able to wrench on motorcycles for X amount of time, which is like multiple decades. So then you take your profession in that regard, and then you took it and went, hey, I'm not only going to be on social media, but I'm going to actually go on YouTube and film myself doing this. Now, what was it in you that was like, hey, I want to get onto the actual platform and start recording yourself? Like, did you see someone else doing that? Like, what was it that made you go, I want to do that?
I'm going to say it, the great John Maxwell.
Okay.
I was a big fan of his. I'm a Maxwell fanboy, I guess you could say. If I saw him, I'd probably be like a little girl, a high school little girl going,
I love it.
John Maxwell, And when he opened up his shop and he says, I'll have more time to do YouTube, I'm sitting there going, no, because now you're doing everything else.
Totally.
And his channel fizzled off, to instead of having it every Wednesday at noon, then it was once a month, then
Yep.
once every 2 months, then once every 6 months, then it went to once a year, and then it stopped. And I sat there and said,
Wow.
you know what? There's a need for this, because the man had a 250,000 subscribers at the time and still does.
And he just abandoned post. He was like, I'm no
Well,
longer
it's
going to
not
be a
that he
part of it.
abandoned posts, that he just doesn't have the time for it anymore.
Okay, so he took up something else with his time, and
Yeah, he
is no
went
longer
from
making videos.
working for a Harley dealership to opening his own garage in there by himself.
Yeah, well, that right there is going to take away most of your time. I mean, the thing that you need to have as a YouTuber is you need to have a little bit of time, and that's why you actually see the majority of YouTubers are actually kids. You know what I mean? They're
Yep.
teenagers, they're young adults, and that's because, well, there's a lot of young adults don't really have a huge family to attend to. Have work and all this different stuff. They have more time, and that's
Yep.
what you need on YouTube is time. So if you are already running hard on time, and then you pick up a whole thing where you've got your own garage type thing, and that's his only focus, well, man, there's almost no way to have YouTube
Yeah.
in your repertoire, I guess.
Yeah. And then I found Professional Monkey, and I'm sitting there going, I could do this too.
Right.
It looks easy enough.
So right there, because you had already had the previous experience. Now, it would have been one thing if you were just a normal dude like me, let's say, and didn't know how to wrench on bikes, and then you decided, hey, I can do that kind of thing, but without the experience having, being a mechanic,
Right.
then that would kind of be, then it wouldn't be so easy looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just the filming aspect, it's the actual doing aspect that you've known for the last 35, 40 years.
Yes. And I've, and granted, the first year, my videos, I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, I could have done so much better with these videos.
Right.
But like everything else, you got to crawl, walk, and run. And I think I'm at the walk stage as far as my videos go, editing and things like that.
Good. And I see that you live stream. You both do this, which is what I love to see is I love seeing content creators that will do videos and actually do live streams. It's very hard to find that. Usually you only have live streamers or you have only video content creators. To be able to still go live and talk to your audience in real time is, in my opinion, the best way to do. Not everyone can do live streams because not everyone is, I guess, quick-witted with their words, or they are scared to, or they're scared, right? Because they have anxiety about them like choking up or whatever. Yeah. And that's typical, but it's good that you guys keep doing the live streams. That will always be a benefit to your guys' channels. Now, Bri, I wanted to ask you the same question. When did you start getting into YouTube, and what got you into it?
I at the time that I started YouTube, I was going back probably 5 years. I started doing video production in my previous company, and I started doing YouTube because I was riding at time, and I figured, well, what better way to learn to edit than to grab a GoPro
and do it,
and to do it, because at the time, well, not at the time, the job was I was doing like food production videos. So it was all talking heads or chef stuff, and it got boring. That doesn't excite me. Yeah, I paid the bills, but I wanted to take the GoPro out, wanted to learn and how to and shoot and kind of capture that. And one thing led to another. We had the complete shutdown of the world, and it was a great way to communicate. It was
totally.
It was kind of a really cool way to work and just get a chance to meet so many great people. And it just sort of became a thing. It really, the intent really wasn't for it to become a thing. It just sort of became a thing.
Right. And naturally, it seems like what came from it, from all three parties here, is passion from behind what we do, which is, a lot of people, like I was saying off air, is a lot of people that want to become a YouTuber generally see like, okay, there's a bag at the end that I could be making, and it's a forever scalable business. So of course it's appealing to everybody, but if you only have that motive in mind, you're going to burn out and fizzle out real freaking quick.
Yes.
You know, and we were just talking about, you know, the amount that YouTube pays you. And in the beginning stages, which is the longest stage really, is they only pay you in AdSense just enough to be a motivation, just to go, this is where it starts and where you can end up, you know, that you can be making a whole bunch of money at the end. But also something that I learned since being demonetized
Yeah,
is
which by
that
the way is bullshit, but
it
okay.
totally is. But what I did learn is that 30% of all of YouTubers, basically their income is from AdSense only. You know, now
Really?
a lot of people dedicate their time to try to make that money from AdSense and all of that. But realistically, whether it be a channel of my size or a channel that's got 1 million viewers, it's all the same numbers. It's 30%. And so 30% of every YouTuber's revenue, it pretty much for the majority is through AdSense. The rest is sponsorships, ads, you know, stuff that you sell that is your money, your ad placement, logo placements, whatever. That's where you really can make your money is from the sponsorship side of things. So, you know, I'm not too bummed out, for instance, for the monetization thing. I mean, I am, but I'm not. It just made me go, okay, maybe I don't need to focus on this so much. Maybe I need to open up as more of a business level and go, okay, we need to be looking for correct sponsorships, not ones that are just willing to pay us either. It has to make sense with what I do. Otherwise, I'm a complete sellout. So there's always going to be,
Yeah.
and it's already hard enough of the people that are willing to give you money, and then for you to say no when you need it the most, it's hard, you know, but that's still something that I'm going to stand by no matter what. It's hard.
It's a
But
double-edged sword too, right? Because
it
you
is.
want to the not kickback, whatever you want to call it, the monetary return of sponsorship is fantastic, and there are some great brands out there, but you have to walk the line of what aligns with your brand. And if you want to flip flop around and try different things, I think it's cool. But you do see a lot of people that spent so much, like Rock's a classic example. Everybody was selling their soul for Rock. Only,
Good,
you know, and the
good
brand fizzled out
point.
so fast,
Hmm.
you know.
Good point. That's very true, and that's something that you know naturally behind the scenes people don't know about, like sponsorships and stuff. It's not just them paying you and giving you cash. Like there's an actual relationship being built, and you don't want to lose those relationships either. You know, there's a whole bunch that goes into sponsorships. I'm not going to dive too much into it because that's specific to this, but nonetheless, so what year did you say that you started up, Bri?
Probably 99, no, 20 2019, 2000, like right around that. I
Okay,
was
so
dabbling with it, but I wasn't doing anything serious.
that's still close to the 5 year mark and stuff. That's a lot of time to
Yeah, and it
start.
was I wasn't really too serious about it, and then once the lockdown hit and, there was nothing to do.
That's where it was like, all right, I can go.
Yeah, I was kinda like, "Well, I have all this time on my hands and I wanna learn, why not?"
Totally, totally.
But
So
it's
did that or did your original guys's concepts to your guys's channel stay the same to where it is now, or did you guys start off filming, just whatever things and then it morphed into what you are now, or did you guys keep your original intention for your channel?
I
I've
don't
kept
know.
the original intention of my channel, which was how-to videos, rallies. I abandoned doing bike night videos and motovlogging. One, I'm not good at motovlogging. I mean, there's a lot
Motovlogging
of
is awesome, in my opinion.
yeah, and guys like I'm gonna throw him out there. Road Reality, he's much better at motovlogging than I am. Great
He's
editor.
insane editing. I mean, that's really what he does is the production side of editing is insane. Like he
Yeah,
really goes that next level
yeah.
of editing.
And so my channel has stayed the same. I've abandoned a couple practices, which would be the bike nights and the motovlogging. It's
Right.
just rallies and how tos. and product reviews, and that's it. And
So when you go to these rallies, are you like filming yourself at these rallies? Are you doing interview style? What are you doing?
all the above.
Okay, right on.
If I find a company or organization that I'm really into, I'm going to interview them if they have the time, because they're there to make money, and I don't want to
Totally.
interrupt that on them. If they have the time and they're willing to, yeah, I'll interview them. We'll talk about their products. I've done that with Tab Performance in the back, and other videos. I've done that with Advan Black. I've done that with Jekyll and Hyde Exhaust, just to name a few. I do show myself, and I do show myself walking around, and hope people enjoy and get a good rally experience. For those that weren't there, or people that were there, they get to see what I saw and what I was doing.
Nice. No, I like that. And that you stuck with your original plan, because a lot of the times, I've been streaming, for instance, for 16 years, right? So because of that,
Jeez.
and almost 17, I have changed my route of what I was doing and the topics I was even going after over the course of almost 17 years now. So it's kind of interesting, because I didn't necessarily stay with my initial intentions 17 years ago.
Right. Well,
It's like
17 years ago, you were a kid, and
totally.
your intentions and interests were different they are now as an adult.
Totally.
So
And
of
it
course,
morphs into, what I
right.
am now. But yeah, no, it's totally weird how it changed from multiple things, whether it be, let's say, music related to gaming, to competitive gaming where I was competing for millions of dollars, and then to where now I'm on the YouTube side of stuff. And I never really saw myself as like doing something that I am now. I think just naturally that happened, but I didn't really think that I was going to be of some sort of like educational or any of that. I didn't envision any of that. It was more of like Mike Ball was the entertainer. Well, now I don't really do that entertainment the same that I used to. The entertainment I do now is obviously straight with my mouthpiece, rather than, let's say, me getting up and dancing or me doing something crazy. Like I used to do all that kind of crazy shit.
I like the
And
dancing though.
and that I mean, that's the whole point of that right there, is because it's entertaining. Like, oh, it's
Mhm.
hilarious. The kid's getting up and he's flailing all of his limbs around, like that's hilarious. And so that's why I did that for so many years. And now that I've grown up an extent and I'm talking about some big boy shit, it's like, all right, there's certain things that I can do, certain things I'm not going to do. And, but yeah, YouTube, because I didn't really get into YouTube itself until this era of myself. It was like I was always on Twitch or I was on other live streaming services. I wasn't on YouTube. So learning YouTube, and I know that you guys can speak on this, the science behind, like, whether they be the thing that we all hear as YouTubers, the algorithms, all this stuff, like all the things that you have to go around and do the proper tags. Like people don't understand, like 80% of the job of this right here is behind the scenes, not in front of the camera, which is, in front of the camera can look, fun. It can look like it's a blast. It can look like it's easy, stuff like that, until you actually put yourself in that hot chair and you're going, okay, well, I'm going to try it, and you go, oh shit, this is not as easy as I thought. And, being on a live stream compared to a YouTube live stream is you cannot have any dead space. Something that I also learned is as soon as you have like a dead space moment, people click off. It's instantaneous. It's very interesting to understand that and then go, okay, I'm going to grab their attention and retain it. And how are you going to do it? And so it's very, it's way easier said than done, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and I think that there's a lot of emphasis put on gear and everything else where, like, to
There
your
is.
point, the hustle and the way to succeed and to grow, like you were talking about sponsorship and so forth, or even just getting content or getting product to do content,
Mhm.
it's the back end work, it's the business work, and that's the thing nobody sees. Everyone believes this mantra of, well, you just hit record. Well, that's great, but that's not going to solve the problem.
No, you're right.
And everyone watches the same BS, and everyone recites the same things, but nobody realizes that, like you said, you could spend less time doing content and more time hustling and get a better return.
Totally.
And I
You're
think
right
that
about
that's a thing that people get lost in. You know, people are so looking at the finished product and not the work that it got to get there.
Totally. It's like you can't just go from point A to point Z. I mean, you literally have to step your way. And sometimes you'll even go backwards a couple of
Mhm.
times. You know, I've done that a handful of times.
Yep.
And
It's
no
just part of
one,
the process.
it's part of the process. That's literally something that you have to accept about this process because you will be frustrated. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many times I've been like totally frustrated at this platform. And also this, you know, the same thing with what happened to me with the monetization thing. That was super frustrating. It's like, though it wasn't a crazy amount of money, it's still something that you take away somebody's money. That essentially that what they're trying to do is get you to shut up. You know,
Yeah.
take their money away, they'll shut up, and then they'll go away. Well, I'm not going to go away. So that's something that YouTube's got to learn about me because I'm persistent as all hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm starting to realize now that the like you said, the sponsorship's better because if you were getting paid X amount of dollars a month to produce content, it's a lot better than trying to ride the wave, especially with motorcycles because
Yep.
it's so. At least here, there's I don't have a garage, so there's a window of 3 or 4 months where you're just not really able to put a lot of content out, right? I'm not gonna
Happens all the
go out
time.
and shovel snow to install parts on my bike.
No. What
And
do you do during those times other than let's say not make a video? Like what I mean, I guess live streams come into a good play during that time, I'm guessing. You know, coming and hanging out with your people and stuff like that. Cause it doesn't always have to be like, for instance, you know, everyone knows me as Insane Wheels. It's a motorcycle kind of channel. We talk about protocol, all that stuff. But yet I'm not sitting here recording myself on the bike all the time or
Mhm.
out there doing that shit. Like realistically, it's me in here. And so that's what I really enjoy about our cultures is that we can actually oftentimes when we learn about someone else's culture, that's when we learn the most, you know, and not everyone is open minded like that, but there are always people that are always looking, you know, like, hey, I want to get more information on this. Well, where can I get it? Well, most of the time, in what I talk about, you're not going to find that from a lot of people, you
No.
know. So it's a niche of it's a niche within a niche within a niche almost, you know. And so it's like it almost it's a double-edged sword because I'll answer these specific questions that the specific viewer will have, but then for a broader audience, it doesn't really work that well. You know what I mean? It's more of like a pinpointed niche thing.
Yeah, but you also can go down, like you said, you can go down the rabbit hole trying to chase views. And when you do that, then are you still organically you or do you become somebody else? And
100%.
let's be face it though, you still have to hit hot topics because
Hmm.
you can hit. And like the beard's right, it's a grind. And sometimes like in the winter, the last what was it last year, the year before, I was doing a lot of my interview series because I enjoyed that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and it's a good way to shift gears. It keeps you kind of creative.
It does.
Because
It
then when you
does.
come back out and it's warm again, you want to do stuff rather than being like, "Oh crap, now what am I doing this week?"
Well, you don't always want to be in the hot seat, right? Which is
No.
for everyone that doesn't know, like right now, I'm in the hot seat and these guys are with me right now. Now, there's a lot of the times I like to get myself out of that hot seat and be able to like go on to one of your guys' streams or something
Mhm.
like that where I'm a guest or I'm hanging out and stuff like that. It does get you don't always want to be one side or the other. You don't always want to be in the hot seat and you don't always want to be in the cool seat, I guess. For context, you don't always want to do that. You want to kind of exactly what you said is do both essentially because you want to keep sharp on both sides of the stick there. And that's how you become a better content creator, in my opinion, is being able to uh, interject when it's appropriate. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that even like the courtesy of podcasting, understanding one mic, understanding bouncing of opinions and shit like that. Like not everyone understands that concept of podcasting. People think it's just a conversation. No, it's like there's actual etiquette to the whole thing as well. So that's something that you learn by being in the cool seat as well. You know, you
Mhm.
learn when to interject, you learn how to say things or maybe question something. You know, absolutely.
Yep.
Stuff like that definitely helps.
And when you're talking about uh, a touchy subject, you know, where everybody has different views or different opinions. And the biggest thing that is forgotten when you're talking about etiquette is there might be a time where you and I, we can agree that we disagree, and we got to respect each other's opinion.
Totally.
You know, and there's some people who don't understand that concept.
It's true.
And, you know, and you try and work with them. I was on someone's live stream. I said to them, like, the day before, I told them there's going to be a time you and I are going to agree that we disagree. But we have to respect each other's views and opinion. And within 48 hours, I'm on their live stream, and he was talking about a real touchy subject. And I looked at this is that time, man, where I'll agree that we disagree on this.
And there's going to come a time when that happens.
Yep. And, you know, we respect each other at the end of it. And, you know, we saw each other for each other's point of view and each other's angle. And, you know, you just move on. Not everybody's going to get along, and not everybody's going to see everything the same way. And that goes right back into YouTube and monetization and all that. There's going to be times where the great YouTube and I are going to agree that we disagree. And there's going to be a time that we agree that we agree.
Right. And I mean, I'm in those constant situations all the time, it seems like. And that's normal for YouTubers and stuff like that. And you're right also, Brian, you know, saying we're not going to sit here and try to like chase views or anything, because not, you know, the truth is you don't want to target everybody as a YouTuber. It's true. You don't want to target everybody. You don't want it to be, oh, it sends out to everybody. No, you want specific viewers. Realistically, you do want pinpointed viewers. And that's where you actually get your core audience from, where you get your hardcore audience from, stuff like that. That's, you don't necessarily want to be talking to some author or engineer that is talking about some other shit, and I'm trying to talk to them about clubbing. You know what I mean? That's not going to work out really.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's interesting how and what you have to do in order to be creative. Thinking outside the box is not as easy as it sounds. And to answer your question, Steve, they demonetized me, I think about 4 days ago. It's been since we did the where the cop pulled out the pistol and he was unmanned or unmarked or whatever, and he illegally held that guy at gunpoint. And so when they did that, the news media put in a claim that I had used their content, which is true, but we paused it and we talked about it. And this is what falls under fair use. And so anytime that you can take news media, you can take all different, I could take Bry's video, for an example, and watch it on my channel. As long as I stop it and I talk about it, I shout him out. I go, hey, this is his narrative. This is my narrative. This is what I'm thinking of. This is what he's thinking of. Doing that falls under the fair use law, and it's been into effect since 1976. So it's from Supreme Court all the way up till the last one that I saw was 2017. And so I had to list all of this and show that to YouTube. And even then, they still declined my shit. And it's unfortunate, because what I know it to be true, that these media agencies go, well, the smaller news, which is me, you know, the smaller creator, they are a liability to us because they're telling the exact opposite of what we're trying to portray. And so that right there is how I ended up getting hemmed up. It's very simple. It's a type of suppression. It's, hey, if we take his money away, he'll shut up. That's essentially what it is. But to me, you know, like I just said not that long ago, YouTube's going to realize that I'm not going anywhere.
But doesn't that infringe on your first constitutional right?
It does. 100%.
But it doesn't. It's a business. YouTube.
Totally.
And that's the problem.
Yep. That's the issue, because it does actually breach your first, second, or first, third, fourth, fifth amendment. You know what I mean? Like, it's like crazy, the amendments that are actually broken if we were going based off of that, but it's not free speech on here. You have free speech to a certain point. You know, you can't say really what you think on here, because if you do, you can totally get demonetized. They take all your shit and then boom. If not, take your entire channel.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that I've watched YouTubers suffer with for years. been some that they will lose their channels. They'll get completely suspended, like where it's indefinite. They're never allowed back in the program again. They're terminated in that aspect. Contracts get terminated, like a whole bunch of shit that is terrible. Now, if they did some terrible shit, then I understand, but at the same token, what? Because a guy showed off of a news clip that's 45 seconds long, like, all right, that's what's going to be good enough to demonetize an entire channel for 90 days. No warning, no heads up, no, hey, don't do this again. If you do this again, we're going to go ahead and take away your shit. There was none of that. So that's the frustration behind it.
But who do you, when you get that, I mean, how at a creators at your size, how do you involve with, how do you engage with YouTube? Is there even like there's not a phone number, right? There's no one to call.
No, it's a terrible, terrible service until you become 100,000 subscribers. Yeah. Once you become 100,000 subscribers, you have a direct contact to YouTube, and that's a great thing to aspire to have, because man, that would be nice if I did have someone to contact directly. But what ends up happening is they go, okay, your entire shit has been demonetized. You can go ahead and either take the punishment or you can try to appeal it. Now, it's literally a button. It's a prompt. It brings you into the whole thing, and they go, hey, you have to make a video that's 5 minutes long and no longer, and you break down the video that is in question, and you break it down and show us that you didn't do what we said you did. You know what I mean? So that's exactly what I did. Is I recorded myself in StreamYard, the whole nine, did a 5-minute video. You upload it as an unlisted thing. You put the URL for just them to have, so that they can view that video. They viewed the video. I watched them do it. I watched it go from 0, views to 1 view. So obviously that's them. I never watched it. So I watched them do that. And they're supposed to give like a 14-day, it takes up to 14 days. They denied me within like 4 hours of sending that video in. They just denied me right off the bat. Boom. It's like, okay, there's something weird here, but. Well,
Instagram has that too. Everything's getting flagged by AI.
Yes.
Or it's getting flagged the second it gets posted, and it's not.
Well, and usually that does happen. Let's say to my channel, it'll have an AI thing catch me or whatever, and then I'll contest it and win. I know that you've had that with a couple of songs as well, where you contest it and then you win. And it's because you were in the right. And same thing with me in this aspect. I was right, but they're still treating me like as if I was wrong. So that's, again, this is where we talk about the frustrations of being a content creator, right? This is some of the hurdles that you guys will end up facing, because most of the time, the way that any of this works is controversy, conspiracy, and I forget what the other C is, but having those, you're going to have strong opinions. People are not going to necessarily dig it all the time. You're going to have people attack your channel. You're going to have people trying to report you, trying to suppress you, trying to, there's all sorts of weirdness, and different cultures will come in and go, hey, we don't like what you said about our culture here. So then they come and attack you. There's all sorts of weirdness that happens on the internet that I've watched other YouTubers go through. And I go, well, I don't want to go through that. And I imagine, like, I would have never guessed that this one little video, this clip, was going to demonetize me, because if I would have known that, obviously I would have never played the damn thing, just to avoid it. I thought I did everything right. But, even when you do everything right, they can still get you.
Now, is that video still up, or did they take it down completely?
No, so they left it up. They when you go ahead and review your shit and have it appealed, you cannot delete any video. If you delete it, it's automatic denial, because you deleted your evidence. Now, I have the evidence and I had it there, and so I showed it to them. And even then, they still fucking just declined me right off the bat, So it was like, not much I can do there. And there's not like how you said, if I would have had a direct contact, shoot, I would have called them way before any of that. I would have loved to have a direct contact. You can't just sit there and email YouTube. You can't sit there and have a conversation with someone on like a customer chat. There is none. You're kind of screwed. Once you're in that predicament, you're kind of held up to, you got to pass these bots or the AI system, whatever, because that's really what you're dealing with. You're not really dealing with a real person, you know? And so that's what is extremely frustrating, because it's like, I want to talk to a real person because this is a unique scenario. This is not like, if I would have messed up and I knew I messed up and it is what it is type thing, I would just take my punishment and not even say anything. But that on something like that, tell me that's not an overcorrection on YouTube's end to do a 90-day suspension off the entire YouTube program, off the YouTube platform or partnership program. You know, it'd be one thing to demonetize that entire video. Hey, go ahead and demonetize the entire video. But my entire channel? Oh, man.
Well, and it's weird because there's so many channels that's all they do. And nobody.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. It's like, how many YouTubers are known for being reaction channels? You know, like that's, I mean, dude, I watch that all day long too, as I watch other YouTubers react to other things all the time. You know, so if you're using anything that could be used against you in that regard, like, man, you got to be careful. If there's any sort of like political agenda, any type of narrative within what you're watching, be careful.
And it's hard too, because it's a pendulum, right? It spins.
Totally.
You know,
and
one
it's
week you can
broad.
get, and you've seen that with Instagram, is that it went from like, there's constantly creators that are pushing the boundary towards pornography, and they're going harder and harder, and they're finding these really weird ways that the AI doesn't pick up on it. But
very strange.
It doesn't make it right. It's just they've worked around it. But it does surprise me, because there's channels that are huge that aren't getting flagged. But then why go after you? Like, what is the what got you on the radar?
And and I know, and just by asking questions like that, you'll get to the same consensus I pretty much did, because it's kind of a gray area. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they can use it if they want to against you, or they can just turn a blind eye and not say anything or do anything about it. Now, if it were across the line, always, if you guys repurpose anyone's content and you guys watch it on your show or whatever, and that's means for all demonetization, then sure. But YouTube isn't saying that. They're saying that you can do it as long as it falls under fair use. Well, okay, break down what fair use is. So I did that. And it's like, yeah, I did exactly what fair use says to do. But I mean, theoretically, if I took this to the Supreme Court, I would end up winning 100%, 100%. But of course, am I going to be the type of person that has 8,000 subscribers and goes to the Supreme Court over it? No, of course not. That's not going to happen. But I know that off of merit and what I did, I know that I was right. I wasn't in the wrong. You know, like I said, if I would have done something wrong, I would just shut up and take my punishment. But
that's fair.
You know, that's just the way of the beast. But nonetheless, YouTube is one of these places that you have to really almost constantly learn about, because it's ever changing. You know what I mean? And so what do you guys specifically do? And then I'll tell you guys what I do. What do you guys specifically do, if anything, to keep your guys' own content very sharp? Like, aside from you guys recording and doing all that, do you guys do any type of research? Do you guys do you know, anything like that to figure out that next level? What do you do?
Doc, you want to go, or I'll go? Or
honestly, I don't do any research on any of my videos. I don't do any scripting. It's all hip pocket stuff that happens, you know, in the moment, you know, and I just trim the fat out of my videos. That's all my editing is. So I trim the fat.
That's literally all your editing really is trying to do, is trim the fat, right?
Yep.
That's what your motive is.
Yep. And because if I'm going to show you how to do something, I want to show you the struggle, but also at the same time, I'm not going to show you the repetitiveness of something.
Totally.
You know? I mean, when I was drilling in that saddlebag, I drilled one hole, and okay, you don't need to watch and hear the drill go for the 2.5 inch holes and then the 6 mounting screw holes. You know, I showed you how to mark it. I explained what I did, and then I showed the last part of it. I mean, I just trimmed all that stuff out, because then it becomes very dry and very boring. That, you know,
And that's as YouTube creators, it's really hard to constantly keep it to where it is not boring, because the truth is a lot of what we do on our day-to-day lives are boring.
Mhm.
So for us as content creators to repurpose whatever we're doing to make it entertaining, I mean, you're really doing like two jobs in one, you know, because you're trying to make this fun when it's usually not necessarily the funnest things to do, and you're making it look good, you know. It's hard to do.
Yeah, it really is. And also trying to come up with new and unique videos that I haven't done already. I mean, how many oil change videos can I do? How many
Totally.
5K, 10K, 20K services can I do? You know, it's just, you know, how many brake job videos can I do? It's getting to the point where it's getting harder and harder to come up with something that's unique.
Totally. It's very hard because, I mean, you got to think about YouTube in itself. YouTube is the #1 small business of all of America. So that statistic right there that tells you that you're going to have a lot of competition. You're going to have a lot of people whether they are even in niches such as ours, there's still a lot of people, you know what I mean? And there's still a lot of people that, for instance, they could, instead of watching us right now, they could go watch somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And we're very lucky with that aspect, but it's definitely interesting to be able to do that and make it still entertaining for the viewer for the long term too, not just a short term 30-second clip. You know, being able to turn a 10-minute video, 15-minute video, 20-minute, or a live stream, whatever, to be able to make it where it's entertaining for everyone, it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
And so I see that in both your guys' videos, and that's why I bring that up.
And also, I mean, I'm not the only one who's doing these videos. There's tons of other content creators doing the same thing, but we all have different techniques of doing it. And that's what I think what makes it unique is the technique of the way you do something.
No, that's a fact. How about you, Bri?
I think that for me personally, I think there's this it's been beaten into a creator's head that you need to put out a video a week, or you need to put out 10,000 videos a week, or whatever.
Sure.
For me, and this is only what works for me, if I'm not in the mood to produce content at the level I want to produce it, fuck it. Straight up, I'm not doing it, because, you know, it's been 3-4 weeks since I put out content. I've done some lives. I just haven't had it in me. The weather, I've got family issues, like, you know, things going on.
You're not always going to feel
I don't
down
I
to
understand.
sit in front of a camera and hold a conversation for 2 hours straight or whatever. Yeah, it's hard.
I understand the concept of people saying that, you know, oh, you need to treat it like television, you need to treat it like this, but there's also the viewer fatigue, right? Now, if you look at big channels, like the biggest channel on YouTube is Mr. Beast. I'm not Mr. Beast. It will never be Mr. Beast. Nobody watching this is going to be Mr. Beast. But
yeah, but bro, you're a beast to me. So
he's
that's
a big
true.
guy.
I'm gonna give it to you.
But the idea is that I think you need to, if you're not happy with it, don't put it out. You know what I mean? Like, and there is merit to doing it, but I think that there's this everybody watches the same things, and everyone's doing the same thing, and everyone's trying to. And I think that, you know, you have to be genuine to yourself, and if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. You know.
Now, what about also the point that it's not necessarily about you; it's about the viewer. You know, in that case, you know, let's say you did something that you may not like personally, but, you know, it could be for the betterment of the people that are watching. You know,
from a creator standpoint, it's even been like this when I'm a photojournalist. If I'm not happy with it, the public doesn't see it.
And that's really
maybe that's selfish, but that's
a good stance to actually hold, because you're holding certain principles and merits.
Well, there are times that I was doing a project, I forget what it was, for somebody, and I'm like, oh, this would make great video. And I go down there and I got my GoPro and I got everything, and I get started, you know, get set up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to turn the music on and enjoy what I do, because believe it or not, I enjoy wrenching on motorcycles as much as I enjoyed riding motorcycles.
Right.
So
that's something that you have that I don't have. You know, I don't love it as much as you do. That's for damn sure.
And there's a time that I have to sit back and say, okay, this is for me today. As much as I'd want to share this with everybody, but I need that mental space to do it for me,
Totally.
you know, because motorcycle riding is therapeutic. And believe it or not, so is wrenching on motorcycles. I mean, full time, I'm an IT guy. I work on computers all day. I have no finished product to show. The computer's still the computer.
Mm.
But when I work on a bike, you know, whether it's a stage upgrade or handlebars or an audio system or whatever it is, there's a finished product.
Right. You actually have an actual
Tangible,
hard product
a
that you can hand over.
product
Right.
that I could touch, I could feel, and I can experience.
Totally.
You know, and you know, and that's why at times I just stopped. Case in point, when I was doing my risers, I started filming it, and then I got to a point where I stopped filming to do something, and I just kept going. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to hit record and do it.
You know how often that happens? That's one of the most frustrating things right there. Is you sit there and you're doing something and you think that you just filmed a whole ass video. I mean, you just spent all this time, and then you realize you go over to the camera and you haven't even started it. You're like, oh my God, dude, I have to redo every little thing, everything that I said. Holy shit, I'm not going to be able to remember it. And then when you do it again, now it feels rehearsed. It feels like you already said it, and it doesn't come out the same way. There's all sorts of frustrations.
Especially if it's a legitimate unboxing too, right?
And that too. Now, what are you going to do? Rebox? You're retaping it. Going, oh shit. You know what I mean?
Well, there's also too, I think there's a lot of people that go for this very smooth, very infomercial feel to it. And I feel like that screws it up too. You know what I mean? If you're making flubs and it feels natural, that's who we are. That's how we speak. That's how we communicate. And I think sometimes too polished isn't good either, right? Because
I agree with that.
The text a two-edged sword, because you can do really good content, but if it comes off feeling so infomercial that nobody wants to watch it, then
right.
what?
Yeah, and that's true, because you need to have personality in your shit and heart, that you actually, people read, like I was saying, if you have passion behind this, people are going to naturally like that. They're going to see that, subconsciously or not. They're going to see that within you. If you're sitting there just trying to read a transcript, basically, people are just going to tune out, because they're going, that's not genuine. I'm
not an actor,
right? You're not here to act. You're here you're talking on you. You know what I mean? Like, in the same thing that Bry's doing, the same thing I'm doing. Exactly. Yeah. And but not everyone does that. A lot of people have like, personas that they want to upkeep. There's all sorts of weirdness that goes in with these different creators. Well, and so that's also another reason why I have YouTube guys on here, because like I was saying, behind the scenes is that it's really hard to find YouTubers that are genuine and selfless, because it's very hard, because think about it. We're in a realm where it's all about me. This YouTube channel is about me. My social medias are about me. Everything's about me. And then you expect that same person to be selfless? Yeah, right. You know what I mean? And so it's very hard to find those people that are still really genuine and to themselves, meaning to like they respect themselves to that degree that they're not going to, all of a sudden put on a performance and an act. Now, I get it for streamers and video makers that want to have a persona, but it's a known persona. That's not really you. Well, a lot of people like to pretend that's actually them, and so that's also kind of is not transparent whatsoever.
But that's the problem with social media, right? Especially with this. If you're doing any sort of interaction where you're going to meetups or you're going to anything like that, or even if you're just engaging and responding like emails and instant messaging, I think that if you turn on that persona, it gets seen through pretty quick.
Totally. People read it like realistically.
I mean, let's face it, we're not TV stars. We're just people.
Yeah. And I've watched, early on, like 2 years ago when I just started my channel, I spent a lot of time watching videos on how to be a YouTuber And some of them I got really turned off to. It says you have to write a script out and follow the script.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
When you're doing the video. And I'm sitting there going, no, I will not script anything.
Right. Because that's not you.
Can't.
That's not you.
Not me. I'm not an actor. I have no persona. I'm just me being me and having fun and enjoying it.
Yeah. You know, and something that you bring up, you know, because I said that I was going to do the same and talk about what I do to like keep myself sharp is, believe it or not, exactly what you just said right there. I look up almost every day how to become a better YouTuber on YouTube, like, or I'll Google whatever, you know, I'll sit there and research like the things that I could be doing, because I mean, technology is forever evolving, and we're dealing with AI, you know, now, which is changing by the second. So if you're not keeping up with that shit, you're going to lose it, you know?
Well,
and so
I refuse to use AI.
And that's cool. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Because you can go ahead and, well, you can go ahead and say that I'm never going to use it. But then this is the very beginning stages of AI. And I'm not even a proponent saying, hey, AI is the new wave or whatever, but it is something that is here and it's not going to go away. And it's also going to affect a lot of jobs. You know, and so, I'm against it for that reason, 100%.
I'm not against it. It's just something I don't want to use, because if I use AI, it's not me. It's not me.
Totally. It's not 100% authentic. Right. Right. No, I get that aspect. But you know, you have like these programs nonstop. So this is what I do. I'll literally type in on YouTube, how to become a better YouTuber, or like this month, let's say, you know, how to become a better YouTuber of April of 2024, you know, shit like that. I'll look up, and there's always new things coming out every month, it seems like. So I end up watching a lot of this to be able to, whether I implement it or not, at least I have the knowledge on what the hell's going on. You know what I mean? Because I can go, okay, that's what that guy's doing. I don't want to do that. And I see the results he's getting because I research this and know what this does. And you can actually it's kind of like having an analytic page. You know, you find out more than just the analytics of your page. You find out your viewer like almost to the T. You figure out their age range, where they're from. You figure out when they're active on YouTube. Like there's a whole bunch of analytics there that will teach you this shit. And same thing with drop off rate. You know, so I mean, that's not AI, you know, that's actual analytics. That's actually you. And I understand what you're getting at, you know, but something that I want to point out is AI, it's here to stay. And so be careful with it, because, well, be careful with your stance of never using it, because there are things that it can benefit you and it still be you. Now it's a matter of playing with it and dealing with it. But anyways, I digress. What I was getting at is that I'm always looking and researching how to become better and better. Like, though I may not be showing it every episode, I'm always sitting there researching, because I'm like glued to it. Like I have to figure it out. Once it's figured out, then it's like, okay, I've got it conquered kind of thing. But it's like conquering YouTube, like what we're titling this. How do I try to conquer YouTube? Well, I'm forever researching. You know, if I'm into something, I'm going to look it up to the T. You know, and that's really what got me into video creation in itself anyways, because that's my personality. That's what I do with anything. Let's say it's a motorcycle. Let's say it's a freaking pen. It doesn't matter. Like I'll research it if I'm into it. Mm-hmm. So I'm forever just sitting there going, what can I pick out of this entire article if I learn one little thing that I won? So that's realistically what I do.
The problem though with analytics, I think, though, is when you start out, you're looking at analytics and it's based on such a small sampling. It's not broad enough, accurate.
You're right.
You know, and I think it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you can look at analytics, you can look at anything in tech, but is there a large enough sample size where it's actually useful to you, right? If you have 200 subs and you're looking at your analytics, what are you really looking at?
You're not really looking at anything at that point.
Do you know what I mean?
You're right.
And it's hard too, because if you look at Think Media and you look at all these major names that are teaching you how to do YouTube, you also have to remember that they're the CNN, they're the Fox News of their lane. They have to come up with something every week to get you to watch.
Totally.
So you kind of have to filter out the bullshit of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all because at one hand, they're trying to build you to be an entertainer, but at the same hand, they're getting you to come back. So how much of it really is valid? But I'm also looking at a standpoint of mine where it's not going to be my full-time job.
Well, and see, you're looking at it from a little bit of different perspective, because I look at it as I am going to have this as my full-time gig. You know what I mean? And I go,
Mhm.
this is what I'm going to do. So with that drilled into my mind, obviously I'm going to probably go a little harder on like figuring out like that's why I'll sit back after a show or whatever, and I'll probably throughout an entire day, I'll probably go through my analytics of my YouTube channel probably I probably at least 25 times within a day. I'm looking at it, studying it, figuring out what people like, what they don't like, when the retention rate dropped, so that I can go back into that exact video and go to the timestamp of that and go, okay, why did people start leaving at this time?
Mhm.
Okay, well, what did I do during that time of the video? And that will give you your freaking answer. They'll go, hey, right there, what you just did right there, for some odd reason, whatever the hell it was, whether it was what I said or what I didn't say, that right there can show the difference of having, the people stay with you and have retention on that video or not. So it's a matter of just the way I look at it, and the way that everyone's going to look at it. Everyone's unique in these situations, and that's what's beautiful about YouTube is you can kind of do whatever the hell you want, and that's great in that aspect of like you can film anytime you want. You are your own boss in that extent. And Dinah writing from New Zealand says, when a channel gets demonetized, does that creator have to start over again, or is it just like a stand down period? It is basically a stand down period. They take away your partnership, for instance, and I have to reapply in 90 days.
Oh,
So
really?
it doesn't promise me that I'm going to get back into the partnership program. Now, do I know that I have the numbers to do it? Of course. Now, it's a matter of getting reaccepted through YouTube. So it's not like 90 days, the money's back on. No, you have to reapply after 90 days. And then it still takes like 20 days to get reviewed, and then they could easily deny me. I mean, it's not up to that decision's not up to me. It's up to them. And that's really what's unfortunate. So it can be taken away from you just depending on the I guess what you did, whatever the crime is. And the crime in my particular case is something that should not have been punished at all, because there was no crime. It was legitimately followed to the T as the law states. But hey, that's what happens when they run their own company, and like that's what Bryce said. It's realistically, you don't have freedom of speech. You're on their platform and they have to regulate their platform.
Yep.
100%.
To fit their narrative.
Absolutely. But, well, you got to think the narratives are bought from the people that have spent the money on what, follow the money. So whoever's paying the ad space for that, it's their narrative. Yep. You know what I mean? It's very simple. People go, well, whose narrative is it? Well, it's whoever paid for it. You know what I mean? It's going, okay, well, if this sponsor is paying $10 million every month for sponsorships, on YouTube and across Google, well, if they have a content creator speaking against it or saying something that they don't like, they can easily do anything they want with it.
Yeah. Because
that's literally the frighten that YouTubers have, and why people, and hence why the chat even said it, hop over to Rumble. You're just not going to have the people over there to, like on YouTube, at least you have a chance to where people can search you, or they can pops up for them, or it's suggested video. You don't really have that on Rumble, and you don't have the people that are on YouTube as there is Rumble. So
right.
I have a Rumble account. I use it. I used to put up the BCAN podcast on Rumble, but the truth is out of all the episodes, I think my biggest video on Rumble has like five views because no one goes over there. The crossover rate, if I tell, hey, everyone go over to my Rumble right now and subscribe, I'll have less than 1% of you guys go over there right now. You know what I mean? That's your crossover rate is almost nothing.
That's with any platform.
And that's correct to an extent.
Yeah, Rumble was really designed to be like sort of the anti. It was supposed to be to the right wing base, but then that's all you're getting. So you don't really have a diversity of YouTube. YouTube brings everybody, so I think it's good, and they keep coming up with these other platforms. But is there anybody watching it? Do you know what I mean? I can sit there and like I have a helmet video and stuff. It's like, oh, this is the number one video for this thing. Great, but there's 10 people watching. Like being number one with 10 people doesn't really matter.
Right. And exactly that,
But with the retention thing, it's hard for what we're doing because if you're doing an install, like I did my Chromeworks exhaust video and you start getting people after a while like, oh, the samples are at, 5.86 or, 5.19. So they don't want to see anything but the sound, right? So it's hard because some people want to watch the whole video and some people want to just find that part where they got stuck. So you have to really understand that, what you're doing. And I just don't think there's not a right answer. That's the hard part.
That's what I was kind of getting at is that a lot of it is kind of gray area. Mm-hmm. It's kind of just, it'll work differently for you than it will for me. And there's going to be different treatment too, and so no matter what, you can't avoid it. It's just the way of the road. That's just the way it works. It seems like. I mean,
everyone was telling me for the longest time, oh, it needs to be a 10-minute video because that's the mid-roll.
I remember when they were saying that was meta and that's what you needed to get paid twice. You get 2 advertisements on a 10-minute video. And if you did a 9-minute, 59-second video, you only get 1 ad. Yeah. Totally. There was all this weirdness. So then for the longest time, for years, people were like making 10-minute and 2-second videos. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And just to be able to get that second advertisement in, like there's all sorts of weirdness. Totally.
But how much fluff is that? You know what I mean? Like can you review a boot for 10 minutes? I don't know. Maybe not.
Right. Because I may not be able to talk about one little thing for 10 minutes straight. There's only so much to talk about mm-hmm. on products or things or individuals or whatever. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can make content 10 minutes long. Sometimes you can't. But then you'll have people stretch it out on purpose and make that video shitty now because now I'm sitting through bullshit to get to the answer. And then the chances of me clicking off by the time you get to your answer is extremely likely because I'm going to click off if there's anything that's unrelated to the video, like title and all that, and I clicked on it, I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care about that. It looks like we just lost Bry.
I think he said, that's it, I'm done.
Yep. He hit the back button.
Did you go to Duncan?
Whoops.
He exited himself out.
Tech hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he went to Dunkin' Donuts real quick.
Yeah, he had to do a quick stop by. I like that. I only watch YouTube and I only watch a few YouTube channels, so I am definitely not one to go from platform to platform. I agree with that. The truth is I do use Rumble for one content creator, and that is the only creator that I watch Rumble on. And they are a somewhat decent sized creator. So of course, naturally, they're going to have the viewership. And they're also partnered with Rumble. So that if they're paying them, they're going to bring an audience. I don't have enough of a crossover rate to do something like that, or a big enough audience to do it, which is fine. You know what I mean? I'm totally fine with that. There's nothing wrong in my opinion with sticking with YouTube in the meantime. It's just you're going to unfortunately run into these barriers like I've explained in this video. You can get demonetized. You can have your entire channel ripped down for saying or doing certain things. Like you can't just say whatever the heck you want, especially politically. Politically will get you hemmed up quicker than anything. And it's sad.
Unless you are fitting the narrative for their political view.
Correct. If you're fitting their narrative, who's paying for that narrative, if you're fitting their narrative, then they're going to leave you alone. That is true. But if you speak anything against that narrative, you're screwed.
Right. So if
So is that really true?
sponsor
Speech? You know,
A likes candidate A, and you said everything wonderful about that candidate, they're going to blow you up and push you out on everybody's homepage.
totally.
But if you, and then in that same video, if you said they did 10 great things and you mentioned the one negative thing, oh, that's it. You're done.
Yep. And that's exactly what I'm getting at, is that they'll be okay with all this crap as long as you're agreeing with that narrative. As soon as you deviate from it or have a little bit of controversy or a little bit of pushback, as soon as you do that, now you're jeopardizing your own company, you
Yep.
know, and that's essentially what this is a business. You know what I mean? And this is the exact reason, I'm going to be very honest for everyone out there. This is the exact reason why Hollywood quit. This right here, this crap that I'm dealing with right this second, Hollywood got tired of it. He said, I'm done with this shit. You know what I
I
mean?
didn't realize he quit. I'm in the dark there.
Yeah, no, he quit back when I broke off, because essentially he came to me and said, look, I don't have enough time anymore. The days that we were doing our show, we're going to
that's
have
right.
to
Okay.
try to find another day. And then we tried to find another day, but there really wasn't any area for him to do it and dedicate that time. So I said, look, just focus on your work. And if you ever want to do a show again, just let me know and then we'll do it. You know, if you
Yeah.
ever get the time or whatever. But obviously right now you've got other shit on your plate. So focus on that. But the whole reason why he got off of YouTube like this, where he was doing it like how I'm essentially doing it, where it's like full time, he quit because of this exact thing. And it happened to him a handful of times, you know? And I mean, look, Black Dragon's going through the exact same thing. He's been 4 months demonetized now, you know, and so almost 5. And he has a total of 6 months of being demonetized.
Wow.
Because he got a double 90 back to back. But he did it to himself. But he did a 90-day demonetization. And then if you get another claim on you during that time, well, then it extends it again by another 90 days. And that's exactly what happened to him, which is too bad. You know, that's not what I want for any content creator, because I know how it feels.
Yeah.
You know, this shit sucks. You know, I wouldn't want that for anybody that is actually putting in their, you know, their true self. They're not trying to screw anybody over. It's just the way it works. I just jumped over to Rumble and I can't find you. Or was it you just making a point? No, I do have an account. It's I think it's just Ball Valve. I think it's just Ball Valve. And you can type that in, and then underneath that will show a show that I was making, which was Beat Cam Podcast. So you can also type in Beat Cam Podcast. It'll pop up on Rumble somewhere, Hardwire. But yeah, no, I do have a Rumble account.
I mean, the cool part with Rumble, though, is at least it auto synchronizes. But I know so many people that were I've seen these workshops, and people talking about all these other platforms, and it's great. But if you're going to put the work into all these other platforms for 3 views, I mean, and now you've got everyone pushing towards shorts, which I still feels a fad at some level, but we'll see.
Well, it is, because I mean, yeah, you're going to get cheap, quick views. You know what I mean? But here's also the thing that maybe our normal audience that isn't a normal YouTuber is not going to know, is shorts doesn't pay jack all. You know what I mean? Like I have a 1 million viewed short, and that short has, I think it made $40. You know what I mean? It's like off of 1 million people, and all the advertisements they got to sell off of my video that had over 1 million views. You were able to sell how much money of advertisement, but yet you kick me back only $40. And that's not like on some demonetized crap. That's not punished or anything. That's with being in the green. That's being in the green. So realistically, yeah, you're going to grow your channel by shorts. You know, shorts are going to grow your channel. They're going to grow your subscribers. They're going to grow your views. But are you going to get actual views that is going to count towards something where you're going to actually monetize and or be worth a shit? You know what I mean? And so a lot of the times that what I've noticed is the people that subscribe through the shorts don't even watch my normal videos and or lives.
Yes, and that I agree with. I don't think the crossover's there. I do think, though, however, if you have content and you can use that, quote free content in a
Yeah.
short form and bring people, because I
It's a funnel
truly don't
system.
feel there's nothing bad. There's no bad publicity.
You're right.
Right? If
It's
you
it's
get,
it's a funnel system.
yeah, if you get 1,000 views and 2 people become full-time, viewers or longer viewers, then it's a win.
Yep.
But the concept of people saying, well, I don't want to do shorts because then that doesn't bring me long form, or short term doesn't bring me long. I don't know. I still think that just putting it out there and getting people to view it is a win. Sometimes, because if you look at it, if you have numbers and you have 10,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, not, and I've seen this personally, not every company that you engage with has any idea what they're looking at.
True.
They just
You're
go,
very
oh,
right.
Prize got 100,000 subscribers.
That's
Great.
all they care about is
Hey, Vic.
the amount of views that you've gotten and how many subscribers you got. And it's like, well, that's really not what's important here. What really should be important is engagement and also your retention rate. That's what should be criticized.
True, but you're looking at it from a standpoint as a creator, knowing those
Totally.
analytics. Most of those people that have those social media positions, it's a 6-month rotation.
You're
And
right.
they don't know dick about what they're doing. They just know that if they go to their boss and go, hey, I got Mike Ball on and he's got 10,000 subscribers and we're handing him X,
Right.
they see
That's
that
what
as
they
a
look.
win because you're putting it in front of 10,000 people that they see. Most people don't have the staff to do the legwork.
Right.
Because that's
Right.
the whole problem with people that buy subs or buying views, is that that's really hard for a company to dig into and look at.
You're right. You're
So
right about that.
it's tough.
Well, that's when a company, if they're really doing their due diligence, what they would do in that aspect is they would social blade their shit, and go, hey, how accurate is their platform? And it gives you a social rating from A to, F. And it tells you how many fake followers or fake subscribers somebody has.
Yeah, but even the social blade numbers,
And
like when
that's
I
not
look at
it.
my own, they're not accurate.
They're not. You're right about that.
I mean,
And
they're telling me I'm
the
making
estimates,
$10,000 a month.
that right there, the estimates are bullshit. And they're not. And by the way, the estimate is not just based off of AdSense. It's based off of what you should be making promotional wise as
Yes.
well. So it's encompassing both your AdSense and your sponsorships. So if you were having a sponsorship, you could be making up to $5,000, it's saying, but still you're not going to have, like, because I look at Social Blade all the time for my own shit, and you're right, it's not as accurate as you would hope it is. It's not. But it gives you a little bit more of an idea than if you were to just look at normal analytics. You know what I mean? You can
Sure.
kind of, without, I mean, if I just look at a person's subscriber count and I look at their views, okay, that gives me somewhat of an idea. But if I go to their Social Blade, now I can see how many subscribers they're getting a day. I can see like the momentum of them. I can see their channel progression. I can see if they're on a downward slope or an upward slope. Are they more active than they have been in the last 2 years? There's all sorts of there's all sorts of analytics within that can help you, or figuring out another person as well. But nonetheless, it's still something that is something we're going to always struggle with this, with the whole view count thing, the sponsorship, because that's a lot of times what they're looking for is an audience eyes. More eyes, they sell more. That's what they think. And so instead of having someone, let's say I had 1,000 people on here, but they were just on here just to clown me. Okay, well, is that more worth it to a company to sponsor someone like me, who's got 1,000 live viewers, but everyone's there to clown on me and no one's actually there to support me. They're just there to make fun. Or is the content creator that's got 30 viewers where those people actually are invested and want to know more about you? You're going to have that quality versus quantity, thing. And that's where these companies are not looking at. They're not really going, okay, well, do they have a real targeted audience? Do they have hardcore viewership? Do they have, these people that no matter what video you make, they're going to be there? You're going to have that type of commitment to your channel.
So with that, I mean, a lot of companies are missing out on a very key opportunity. I mean, a lot of the companies look at the larger channels and want to get involved with them and give them all the big sponsorships and all that, right? Because they've already done the legwork, they've already done their homework, they've already paid their dues. And I'm not saying anything bad about that, right on to them. But also at the same time, some companies could sit there and say, hey, we could get in with these micro channels. Micro channels are sub 5,000 subs.
You got micro, macro, all of that.
Right. And I consider my channel a micro channel.
Right.
It is.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't. And, hey, we could get in with this micro channel or this small channel early for a bargain, because they would love to have an actual sponsor,
Totally.
Whether it's with products or cash. And I have 3 channel sponsors that give me an annual check. And it's not a whole lot of money when you look at it, what they're paying for and what they're getting in the advertisement. And
I get that.
I don't hide the fact that, who they are. You see at the beginning of every one of my videos and live streams who they are.
Yep. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. If you have a sponsor, this is the way I'd play it. Let's just say that StreamYard's a sponsor. I'd go, in the very beginning, be like, hey guys, this stream is powered by, StreamYard, and we'll talk a little bit more about them later in the video. And then you go into your normal spiel, and then you talk about it later in your video. And that's something that usually you have a contract with sponsorships. So usually you would have stuff like that. If they're handing you cash, usually there's a contract in place so that they get what they promised and you get what you were promised.
Yep.
And that's building relationships. So
exactly.
It's hard because a lot of these companies, they are looking for creators, smaller creators, macro, micro, all of these creators. But what I don't like what these companies do is they will reach out to you, but they won't offer you any money. What they'll do is go, hey, we'd love to send you this. We'd love for you to do a review on it, or we'd love for you to talk about it, but we're not going to pay you anything. It's like, well, then no. You know what I mean? Like, of course, I self-admittedly, I did for years. I did do shit like that for years. But now I can't continue to just provide shit for free. You know what I mean? I can't just sit here nonstop. Just because you sent me a pack of coffee doesn't mean that I can be giving you nonstop advertisement sales on my shit for free. You know what I mean? You got to pay your way for that. And to get in front of my audience, you want to do that as a company, you're going to have to pay. But that's my mindset of it.
And I don't know how to value it, so.
Well, and that's something that it took me years to value it too. You know what I mean? It took me a long time to figure out, okay, well, how much money is not too much, not too little? I don't want to short myself. And I also don't want to be like, hey, I want $100,000 for this, type thing. Of course not. But it's specific. You gotta work these things out with these companies and make these relationships. And that's why I always turn down on Instagram, let's just say. They hit me up daily, hey, can we send you this? Can we do that? Can you do a review? Yeah, if you send me cash. You know what I mean? Like, if you send me some money, of course, we'll talk about doing that. But you're going to get a real review from me too. You're not going to get me sucking, your company off because you sent me something or you paid me. No, that's the whole thing is I'm not going to sell out for anybody. That's why I said I'm not going to sell out for a sponsor that is willing to give me money. I'm not going to do that. It has to align with what I do. Like that's why I use StreamYard as an example, because they would be a perfect sponsor for the channel, because they are something that I actually use every day for my show. And I can talk about that. I have actually taught classes, workshops on how StreamYard works. So I actually know how to talk about this subject. But these are things like I wouldn't just take a random, bicycle company that wants to sponsor me, because I don't ride bicycles like that. You know what I mean? Like, of course, I'm not going to take that.
Right.
But a lot of people would, because of the money that it can provide them. And that's something that it's hard, because as a content creator, it's so hard to get paid as a content creator. That's really realistically the hardest thing about being a content creator is being able to get paid from home. How are you going to fucking do it? It's really hard to do.
And there's some content creators that figured it out.
Totally.
And they're doing very well. And I'm not jealous of them. You know, I'm actually happy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully one day I could do it. And if I don't, I don't. And if I do, I do. It's, you know, it's not one of those things. You know, I have a full-time job that pays the bills.
Totally.
And if I counted on YouTube and Instagram to pay the bills,
right, you would
be living in a cardboard box under the highway somewhere.
Right. And that's ultimately what you want to. Well, I mean, that's the beauty of doing exactly what you did, is doing. And I always suggest that. I never suggest someone to try to go full time, especially early on in their career, because full time is not a joke. You know, you're going to, you know, what happens when you're stressing about paying rent or paying your light bill or whatever, and you ain't got it, you know, and then what you've only got left is you've got your 3 forms of leverage in life. You've got media, skills, and money. You know what I mean? And so when you run out of that cash, well, what do you have left? What's your form of leverage? Media and skills. So then you tend to usually go to your media and go, okay, well, I can make money with this, or I can do that. And this is what full-time creators do all the time. That's something that you don't necessarily want to put yourself in. If you can work a job and actually have a part-time job or a full-time, whatever pays the bills, and then you can focus on YouTube as where it's not over it all the time. And that's not something you want to do, because then you're going to put yourself in a bad position. That's when a lot of creators go, well, shoot, I went from making a video once every month or once every couple of weeks. Now I have to make a video every day just to survive. And but that's not something you want to do. If you can't, I also see
there's a lot of people that start channels and they don't even have content up, and they're already hitting companies up for free stuff.
That happens a lot.
I'm sure you get those. I get those emails all the time. I want to work with XYZ company.
Totally.
Who do I need to talk to? Because I can't start a channel on my own. Well, then don't fucking do it.
All the time. Happens. It's actually kind of crazy the amount of people that think that.
Mm-hmm.
Where they immediately go into it and go, okay, I can get a sponsor, I can get an ad, or I can get this and that. It's like, well, who the hell is going to pay for a no viewer channel, you know, or no content? You don't have a library of stuff behind you. You know, usually that's what, you know, they look at is they go, okay, well, let's check out his previous videos. Let's see what he's about. Let's see what kind of content how has he progressed in the last few years? They'll look back on a video 3 years ago and then look at a video today and go, how has this person grown? And are they getting better? Are they on the upswing? Are they on the downswing? There's a lot of that. And that's exactly Pitbull is what, back to Dr. Harley, is figuring out the price, is exactly figuring out how much your time is worth. And that's, you know, we want to be, you know, on a higher number there, but you can't demand a super high number all the time.
Yeah,
and you got to learn that.
You got to be realistic.
You have to.
Coming up with that realistic number based on your analytics and based on what they're willing to get out of their investment, because that's what they're doing. They're investing in you.
Yep.
And they're looking for a return on that investment. I mean,
totally.
Case in point. Yankee Harley Davidson and Cape Cod Harley Davidson came on with me when I had 100 subs.
That's awesome.
I have a very good relationship
but that's probably because you had a personal relationship.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now, if it were me and I only had 100 subs and I approached them, they're going to look at me and go, come back later. You know what I mean? That's the truth. But that's what happens when it's all about who you know,
right. And, you know, and they made the investment on me, and thankfully that, you know, the past 2 years their investment has paid off, because a lot of people have gone into Motor Clothes or the parts or sales or services. Hey, you know, I saw this on Dr. Harley's channel. You know, Dr. Harley told me directly, come see you. You know, I'm here, you know, because he sent me, and that's the return on investment. Is they're seeing that.
Well, they have to see a return on investment. They're not going to pay a content creator and not have any investment be returned.
Right.
You know, they're a business just as much as we are. Mm-hmm. So they're if not more, you know what I mean? So if they're tracking their numbers way harder than we are. And that's the truth.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you're right about that, you know, and that's where what I was getting at earlier is those relationships that you build. That's where you can use that as a little bit more of a leverage point than somebody that didn't know them and approach them. You
Right.
know, having that network or having that line of communication already open, that helped out immensely.
Absolutely. Because I went right to the ownership. I didn't talk to a GM or a regular staff member. You know, I went right to the ownership because I had a relationship with the ownership.
Right. Right. And
And
that's a big benefit.
the same thing with, Heyman Law Firm, John Heyman. I've known John for well over 10 years. And when I approached him, he was like, yeah, let's give it a try for the
Right.
first year. And he just signed on for a second year. So apparently he's seen a return on his investment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's worth it to whatever dollar amount they're paying you. It's worth it to them because they're getting an ROI. You
Yep.
know, they're getting something in return with working with you. So
Yep.
that's a great, and that's something that these smaller channels need to understand. It's like, well, how are you going to get a sponsorship if you really don't have anybody to sell to? You know, like you can't really do that and expect to get an ROI
Mm-hmm.
and then for them to continue a contract with you. There's no way. If you
Yep.
don't have like I don't even consider myself to have the proper following that I want for my sponsors to have, but still it's still something that is there that I can base my money off of and my time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you also too need to how to package it. I mean,
Yes, it's all about packaging.
I've been on the other side of the ask where people have come to the company that I spent time doing contract work for, and they don't know how to ask the question, right? They don't know how to quantify it. It's this rambling email
Yep.
that they're trying to ask for content or ask for something, and there's nothing to back it up. You know what I mean? And you need to understand how to sell. And
Yes.
if you can sell and you can put that jerk.
I like that.
I guess the bigger question is, how does the beard know the size of my package? But I digress. He does have soft hands. But anyway, you really have to figure out a way to your point. You want to understand it and package it. And if you can't, you're not going to get anywhere.
Well,
You know,
hence the
telling me send me
media
free
package.
parts and or you're saying, no, I have this channel and I want this thing. You know, sell the concept, explain what you're trying to do, not just how are you
Right.
going to send me X?
Yep.
Or
No,
how
you're
are you
right.
going to sponsor
It's
the
the
channel?
it's the old elevator pitch.
And I'm
Right.
glad that you bring up that
You
side.
need a pitch.
You have to know how to do a 30-second pitch, a 45-second pitch, a 60-second pitch. And what I always say to these people that are looking for sponsors, don't email these companies. If you can, get on the freaking phone with somebody. If you can get on the phone with somebody, you're oftentimes going to get a way better result than if you were to just email them.
Well,
You know,
my experience is, with this chopper build, I'm looking for a lot of sponsorship and helping build this chopper. And when I call the companies, they're like, yeah, that's our media department. Here's their email address. And I say, well, can you put me into their voicemail or,
Right.
transfer me over? No, they don't have any phones. At that point, I know the email's going nowhere.
totally. You know that it's going to the inbox and it's going to the back of that inbox and no one's going to read it. No one's going to see it. And if they do, if you get the lucky chance that they are going to read it, you need to have that little bit of personal connection with them to be able to kind of put a voice to, or a face or whatever to you as a channel and you as a personality. Then, it doesn't really show out when you write an email, or it's kind of like when you have someone send a text and you take it out of their context and they meant it a certain way because the tone was different. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's like shit like that really can make or break the decision of getting sponsored.
Yep.
So these are all these things that you have to like look out for, be aligned with, understand to be able to have any of this happen.
Right.
And it's not giving up. You just got to keep at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's companies
Consistency.
that I've built a relationship with. It took me probably 7-8 months of just nonstop banging on the door.
Yeah. I mean, when a company says no, it's no for now.
Right.
Doesn't
It's
mean
indefinitely.
a month from now or 3 months from now that they'll say no again.
Right. Right. Yep. 100%. And ML says this is how you do it. Video a product you bought and used and satisfied with. Send it to who made it and tell them you will show live on your platform. Push their products, and that's also another thing that you can absolutely do. You know what I mean? And that's what I do. Instead of having the companies approach me, I approach them. That's just me, because then I naturally get the people and the companies that I want, and the companies I already have knowledge on. You know, a lot of these companies that hit me up, I've never heard of them. You know, they're just random, small business, medium-sized business,
But they
whatever.
love your work.
Yeah, but they love your work, right? Yeah, exactly.
They sell toenail cleaner.
I love the emails I get. Hey, we've been looking for content creators. We watch your channel. We think it'll be a great fit.
Tell me
and
three
it's something like, makeup for cats.
Yeah.
Hey, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Well, if they watch my channel, it has nothing to do with cats or makeup.
Oh, okay.
Right. I thought it did. I thought it would coincide with your channel, but no, that's, there's different ways to approach it, and every person's going to kind of approach this a little differently. Whether you take my advice or you take anybody's advice up here, and or you're using a little bit of what I've said, a little bit of what Bryce said, a little bit of what Dr. Harley has said, stuff like that. This is why we have these discussions in the first place, is to educate you guys and inform you guys on what's also happening, and also what to look for. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that nobody ends up figuring out or knowing about these YouTubers. And that's why I'm more, apt to be more transparent and be like, okay, well, I'll show my analytics because I don't care. You know what I mean? I have no problem showing how much money I've made or whatever. Like, I'm fine doing that because I'm very transparent in that regard. But not everyone is like that. Not everyone wants to share their shit and be so open.
Well, people ask me anytime. I have nothing to hide. I mean,
yeah, but there's also a sense of privacy there too. Though I don't care about it, some people do.
Yep. I mean, you were a big help to me after you came on my live. We spent some time talking, and I shared my analytics page with you, and you gave me some pretty solid advice on what to do, with that
current, because there's always going to be a different plan of attack depending on where you are in that very moment, for sure.
And and that's what's so great about this platform is there are people willing to help you grow, and at the same time there are people out there, they'll do everything they can to keep you from growing.
That part right there is huge. That's something that is not really discussed about too much either. I guess I'll cover it a little bit, is that it's like I said off the air as well, is it's really hard to find these real genuine people. And I think I did say it a little bit earlier, but finding, for instance, a YouTube is almost it's a rarity, you know what I mean? And that's why every person that I really jive with, I'll for instance collaborate with, because I get your vision, you get mine, and our audience usually, because of our similarities in that aspect, our audience usually is right around the same because of that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so naturally, that's how people as YouTubers grow as well. And something that YouTubers tend to not necessarily do too much anymore is collaborations. It seems like people are more just only to themselves, like, I'm only going to do this. I've been on other people's streams where, for instance, how I was trying to get you guys to connect your guys' show onto the StreamYard, where I've come in and they've said, Mike, you're not connecting your shit. And it's like, well, why the hell not? What's weird about that? Like, I see it as a good thing to be able to intermingle these different platforms and different people and all of that stuff to get more of the, whether it benefits me, whether it benefits you, it doesn't matter. We're in this together type thing.
Yeah.
And those collaborations have slowly kind of trickled off. And that's why I still plan on doing these collaborations all the time. That's why I do what I do, is to get different perceptions, different perspectives of things. And it keeps you sharp. not just having people that are like-minded, because you guys are like-minded, but you guys are not afraid to go, no, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? Like, this is how I see it.
Yeah. See, Brian and I, we've been on together, my channel and on his channel last year, and then again this year, which I love. I enjoy, Bryce's company, and of course your company, Mike, and everybody in the side chat that I know. There's some people in there I don't know. I like to get to know, and that's the social aspect of YouTube.
Totally.
You said to me, well, after my first time you came on my channel, it says, YouTube is not a social media platform.
That's
It
right.
is a search engine for videos.
That's it. People over, they're too Instagrammed out, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They've got like, that's what this is. Like, it's a social media. No, it's not, because you're not searching up on Instagram the same thing that you're searching on YouTube. You're typing in two different things, so you're not going to be getting that search that you would normally get on YouTube. And that's where you actually get your long-term views, where you look at a video as an investment. Like, I may put this video out, but the first month is only going to have like 2,000-3,000 views. But then in the long term, that video could have 500,000 views. You know what I mean?
2,000-3,000 views. I'd be happy with that. I'd be ecstatic.
Well, absolutely. But that's how, my most viral video for the first week, it had less than 1,000 views. And I didn't think anything was going to happen of it. And once it hit like 900 views, I was thinking, okay, that's done, and then a week later, it was dead for a week. It didn't move the needle, not one view, nothing. And then all of a sudden, it picked up out of freaking nowhere, and now it has over 1 million views. And it's very weird how it decides that. So, when you're doing like daily reports, let's say kind of like what I do, a lot of those videos are no longer good after the report. You can go back and see what had happened, but now it's late to the game. You're not getting that breaking news or whatever. Now, when you guys are showing how to put on Harley bags and shit like that, that's something that will collect views forever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Evergreen videos.
So you look at it as like how-tos, educational, stuff like that. Person, places, things, all of that is going to have more of a search aspect than, let's say, a daily report, such as what I do. Yep. That's why I try to break it off. That's why I try not to just do daily reports. That's why I try to do all sorts of things, whether it's still in this space, but I'm not just doing reporting. I'm doing also content and also collaborations.
Yep. And, when you shared that knowledge with me, I'm a big component into paying it forward. So I shared the knowledge that you gave me with other content creators.
That's great.
And I helped them out with some titles, and their video took off, and they thanked me. I says, "Wow, you did all the work. All I did was help you with the title, and it's all you."
And that goes back to what Brad was saying is the packaging ordeal is when it comes to YouTube on a video, it is your title, your thumbnail. It's the way you package your ordeal. Let's say you don't necessarily need the best of the best of the best of equipment, but you should be able to at least package your content into something that people want to actually see. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is going to be a topic that I'm interested in, or I want to learn more in, or I want to know more about this. And also understanding that thumbnails tell a story. You can't just put, a picture, or you can, I'm not going to say you can't, but being able to paint out a picture, a whole storyline within one picture, there's a lot of art that goes into that, and figuring out the science of going, what is going to make someone want to click on this? And that's hard to figure out. But once you figure that kind of shit out, then you can kind of work on that.
Because when you search something like how to install, a Clockworks windshield.
Yep.
There's 1,000,001 videos on Clockworks windshields.
Yep. And that's why you've got to go, for you on that aspect, the more you niche down, the better. So let's say you Clockworks, when, whatever model number that Clockworks is, like the long ass serial number or whatever, you put that in the title, people are going to type in that exact thing to look up that exact, windshield that goes on to that exact model. And that video will then do better in its search than if you were to just leave it more broad going, well, this is what this does. Well, if you
and one of the things I always steer away is this is the best seat, or this is the best windshield, or this is the best of anything on the market, because it might be the best for you, but might not be the best for Mike Ball or
totally
the biker or anybody else. And I always say, hey, in my opinion, this is the best seat that I received.
Right.
And it's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Because it's going to be different for everybody with products. It's going to be objective. You know what I mean?
I don't want someone to sit there and say, well, Dr. Harley said this 8-inch,
and it doesn't work out for them.
Windshield was perfect.
Well, yeah, it depends on the height.
It's not, because, I'm 5'8" and they might be 6'2".
Right. Exactly. And now that that Clockworks, for instance, is not giving them the
wind buffeting,
break that they need. Right.
Well,
go ahead.
No, the problem too is, and Doc has a good point. If you say it's the best, well, we've all had products that were the best for us personally, whether we've videoed them or not. And then you grow out of it. One day you're just like, what, for whatever reason,
very right.
This changed, that changed, seats are a classic example of that.
Mm-hmm.
It may be a great seat for now and you move on, or boots or gloves or jackets.
Until you
helmets.
find the next product that is, next tier up.
Suspension's another one,
and it's all relative to already to the products that it's only relative to that too, so how many products and how many motorcycle seats have I theoretically tested? You know what I mean? Like that info is not out there. So for me to make a claim like this is the best seat ever, well, what if I've only sat on 2 Harley seats? You know what I mean? It's only relative to what I know in that product.
Yep.
And that's really where, building up that equity of people believing or you having a reputation for being, legit and not just so, because we've all seen this with creators. Let's just take helmets. It's the Ruroc. Then next week it's a Scorpion. Then no,
totally.
the HJC is better. No.
All of a sudden it's a Simpson. It's
yeah,
like, shut up. Yeah,
because somebody's cutting them a check. And my thing is, if you run into me out, you're gonna see the same products that you see on my bike and videos while I'm out. I don't take
because
them
you're
off.
not selling out.
Yeah, I'm not taking them off and being like, oh look, Bry's running whatever.
Yeah.
Well, Hardwire is 100% right here. Listen to what he says here. He says, a lot of great musicians that were very talented never got recognized at all or very little. But if you got big boobs or controversy and zero talent, you get a big hit and millions. It's very strange how that works. But usually there is something, including for guys. I'll just sum it up as one thing: pretty privilege. That's what it is. And
I'm guilty of that. I've subscribed to some channels because they were very easy on the eyes, and
it's easy to do.
I appreciate your subscription.
Thanks for subscribing. That's for real though.
I'm guilty of it. I'm
totally. I think any male in this space, especially, is going to be guilty of it, and then also
there are females out there that do the same thing.
Oh, of course. There's huge. That's realistically, let's be real. That's going to be used a lot more on the women's side than it is on the male side. But that's the the two world differences that we got on men versus women kind of aspect. But that's okay. That's the way it is. So there's no big deal in it. But Frog says, night everyone, got to tend the garden. Hell yeah, dude, go enjoy yourself. I appreciate you for being here.
Hi, Frog.
See you, Frog.
Only people who watch certain videos of certain YouTubers are close-knit people who dedicated to channel watch. Well, yes and no. You're going to have your broad audience that's going to tune in once in a while. You're going to have your more hardcore viewer. You're going to have your core audience. You're going to have shit like that. And it does change, and it changes over the course of time as well. And also how active and consistent the YouTuber is. That holds, I always say this, the audience holds me accountable. They're the ones that go, okay, I have to get up in the morning and do this show because they're relying on me to be there. A lot of the times I could just be like, well, I'm not feeling it right now, so I'm just not going to do it. I don't know how many times I go live when I'm not feeling it. It happens all the time. And as a live streamer that has been doing it for, his life, that's essentially, you have to get kind of okay with that, is going, well, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to put all my emotions to the side right now to be able to come on the live, or whatever the case is. It happens all the time. Do you guys ever struggle with, before you go live, or the day that you're supposed to go live, all of a sudden you don't feel it?
All the
Well,
time.
there's
Happens
times
all
when
the
I don't
time.
have a guest. Oh man, what am I going to talk about? You know?
Totally. And now let's say your guest, which happens all the time. It happened to me on the Mike and Hollywood channel, or the show, 1,000,001 times, is where we'll book a guest and then last second they say they can't make it. You know what I mean? And I'll check on them in the morning, like, hey, we still good, blah, 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 like, we still on. And then they confirm, and then we'll be like 30 minutes to the show and they're telling me they can't make it. And it's like, well, what am I going to do now? You know what I mean? And that's when you have to be, kind of quick-witted and go, okay, well, what can I do or say or talk about that is going to be anywhere close to maybe this subject, or to still just go on and just to show you guys that I'm still here. Yep. You know what I mean?
I mean,
it's a hard business.
When you called me up and you asked me to come on to the Mike and Hollywood show, I was like, oh, I was honored and nervous and scared, and because Hollywood's got a big following, not just on YouTube. He broadcasts
everywhere.
There could be 30 to 100,000 people listening at any given point in time on his broadcast. And I'm sitting there going, but I'm just me, and I'm not that special. But I felt honored to do it, and be there. That I can't believe that people actually 30 minutes said, yeah, I can't do it. I'm like, I'm just puzzled by that.
Yeah, you're going like, how can you be so inconsiderate? You know what I mean? Like, what do you just dropping off? It's like saying that you're gonna show up to work and then you don't. You know what I mean? It's like, though you're not getting paid, the guest is not getting paid. I understand that aspect, but when you commit to something and you say, yes, I'm going to be there, and then for you not to show up, that puts us in a bind. And then it's like, okay, well,
you play the whole show around that.
And then let's say I decide not to go live, and now not only did it affect me and my channel, but it affects everybody in the chat, everyone that was sitting there waiting, everyone that was expecting me to go live, all of that shit. It's a trickle-down effect where it just happened from the guest saying, I'm not going to show up. And so these are the some of the adversities that us YouTubers will face while trying to make a production for you guys. It can be very strenuous. It can be upsetting.
Or on the flip side of it, when I first started live streaming, my channel was a lot smaller than it is now, and I would have maybe 5 people watching.
Yep.
And I've had people comment to me and says, dude, you only got 5 people watching. Why do it? I says, well, because Rome
got to start somewhere.
Yep. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Dude, exactly. You're building an empire, and I don't know how long, probably 2.5 years, I streamed to a donut, which means 0 people. So my first 2 years when streaming was just becoming a thing, it was so hard to get recognized, to get one person to come in and just, if they made a comment, that would make my whole stream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or
because it's so rare.
Or just get a comment on a video.
Or getting a comment on a video that you put your heart and soul into, and it's only got 5, 10, 15, or maybe even 100 views or whatever. It's like, man, you guys have no idea the amount of time that it can go into to just the editing portion or whatever. It could be 10 hours per episode. People put a lot of time, effort, high effort into their content, and then it'll still flop. And that's the majority of our YouTube videos. That's the truth. It's the majority of them flop. But how can you make it to where it's still enjoyable for you and make it enjoyable for the audience that is going to be watching? how can you do that in the meantime to getting yourself to the position to make decent money from it? How are you going to do it? Because I mean, like you said, you got to start somewhere. Rome was not built in a day. You have to stream. You have to start somewhere. It's not like you're going to start up immediately and you have, 50,000 people watching you. It's just not going to happen. It's
No.
impossible. So that's why I laugh at these people that have gone, why are you even streaming when you've got 1 viewer? Why are you even streaming when you got 0 people in here? Well, I still got to do it. If I want to take this path, which is what I did want to do, well, then you have to withstand that shit. And it sucks.
You got to weather the storm
Totally.
before you enjoy the fruits of your labor.
And that's
100%.
where I think a lot of people don't understand is that people see it from a channel that has success. And if you're starting out, any channel has more success than you do.
Right.
But
You're 100% right about that.
They're not seeing the amount of work that it may take. And like you said, and I have friends that have started out, and to your point, they're live streaming to 3 people.
Right.
But I've seen them where they're live streaming and they have, the first couple of live streams hit well, and then they dive off. Well, why do they dive off? Well, you start having audio issues and you start having this, but people don't realize that the most successful work, the most successful rewards that you're going to get from these platforms is the work that nobody sees.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody understands the back end work that went into learning, like you said, just make it simple. Something like StreamYard, like learning the ins and outs, learning, the reliability of audio, video. People don't see that. And I think a lot of people are so focused on the, not even the carrot, they're so focused on the getting monetized.
Right.
That they're not really even understanding, how you get there.
Well, and that's also a thing that you bring up that I'm not really sure why people, I mean, I understand why, like the whole understanding why you want to get monetized. I get it because you want to make money for what you do. I get that. But at the same token, the very first, I would say the first few years of monetization is not, it's really, like I said, it's really supposed to be more of a motivation than it's supposed to be like, hey, I'm making money off of this and this is something that I can survive off of. It's supposed to be a motivation, like this is where it starts and then it goes from there. But you have to be patient on it and you have to be willing to put in the work for it.
Yep.
You can't just expect it.
I mean, in that case, when you look at, Mr. Beast,
Mhm.
largest YouTuber there is, Bry, you're over 10,000 subs. Mike Ball, you're tickling
Close.
8,000 subs
Mhm.
right now. I'm over 2,200. Everybody started at the same place.
You did at
Nobody
0.
stepped into 100,000 sub channel.
Right.
Just not going to happen. Or a 10,000 sub channel.
Mhm.
Everybody built their channel up.
You got to start from a certain foundation, and that foundation is 0.
Yep. And, when I put out my first video, I was, I watched it. My wife watched it. My mom watched it. And then some of my closest friends watched it.
But that only lasts right there, that little bit. That only lasts. And I know this because, I had my parents involved in my streams when I was very early on. My ex at the time, a whole bunch of stuff like that, where you tell your friends to join and they'll support you for that little bit. But getting that long-term viewer out of them is near impossible because it's really hard because, like, for instance, I don't have anybody really in my direct family that watches me religiously. It doesn't happen. It's
No.
You guys over here that are actually interested in this topic. It's not necessarily just people that only want to support me. Because if you're only here to support me, you're only going to be here for so long.
Right.
You have to enjoy the content as well.
Yeah.
It's a mix of personality and also your content, what you're able to bring to the table.
And how credible your content and you
That
are.
That too. Absolutely. And that's something that I love talking about as well is doing what I do. I'm also held not only accountable from the viewer, let's say right away, but when I talk on these subjects, then I actually go out to the set. I've made all sorts of people that watch, and so that keeps me reliable, and it keeps me on point all the time as well, because you can't just say whatever you want without there being 0 repercussions. Now, a lot of YouTubers kind of have that, kind of have that buffer where there's, but I show up to a set and that set is watching me. So I can't just say whatever willy-nilly shit I want or to be clickbaity or whatever just because I want to and get a view.
You'll be held accountable to that set. That 100%. Set will hold you accountable.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
One way or another, whether you like it or not.
And there's times that we get off of a show and I get that club or whatever calling me, trying to talk to me about it. Like it's way more than just making content in this particular niche. I've dealt with all sorts of different niches that didn't require any of that. You wouldn't have any pushback from anybody really. And then you have a niche like this where people are going to, hold you accountable.
Yep. I mean, that's why I don't talk about any club stuff on my channel.
That's good.
Because one, I'm not in the set anymore. And it's not my business to report. And two, if I was still in the set, it wouldn't be my business to report.
You're right. I like that. And there's all, as long as we stick to what we believe to be the right, genuine thing, then you're realistically at the end of the day going to win. But if you stick by those guns, and it's hard to do so sometimes because, like I was saying, people get themselves into pinches. People get themselves to where they need a look or want a look or want monetization, and then they let other things like this cloud their judgment, and then they mess up on their own videos. Happens all the time.
Yeah. And, and if you bullshit your way through a video or through something, you're going to be found out. And then next thing you know,
eyes are the window of the soul. You can really look into someone's eyes, even through a screen, and go, okay, they mean what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, I get the reflection from the screens, but
Yeah, with you, I get reflections. Yikes.
But
yeah, there we go. Now I know everything about you.
Yeah. Now I can't read the side chat. But you got to be genuine. And there's some people out there that aren't genuine, and they grew fast, and them not being themselves and not being genuine, they're falling faster than they grew.
100%. And that happens all the time. It's very hard.
I know a channel that grew in 1 year to over 10,000 subs. And then within 6 months, they're down to 5.
Yep. It happens because then people all of a sudden, whether they say the wrong
through
thing,
the BS.
And then they go, you know what? Actually, this guy's full of shit. I'm going to unsubscribe. And it happens. You know what I mean? And you got to be careful because public opinion can be swayed so easily, whether it be real or not.
Yep.
So things can be made up about you, and then people are oftentimes going to believe the worst about you than they are going to believe the best.
Yep.
So they're gonna run with it,
and then getting caught up in all the drama.
100%. And speaking of drama, since it was asked,
no part of it.
Since it was asked,
YouTube in general.
Hardwire says, Mike and I, am I going to see you on BD's next show, or did you two not manage to work things out? No, we work things out. We argue all the time, like off a stream, like behind the scene. When you deal with someone every single day, Monday through Monday, you know what I mean? Like you're going to have disagreements, and you're going to have things that like we were saying earlier, what you want to do when you agree to disagree on something, you want to agree to disagree respectfully. Now, when I was on my whole thing regarding that Black Dragon incident, all that needed to happen was him put his input, me put my input, whatever, and then we just agree to disagree, and then we just move on. Unfortunately, Black Dragon, after I even asked him to continue to move on, he stayed stuck on the subject, which is fine. But I'm not going to stick around for it. If you're going to be stuck and you can't move on, well, now we're just repeating and hitting a dead body at this point. You're literally just kicking it over and over again. And I'm not gonna sit there and continue down that road. I know where that road goes, so I'm just going to dismiss myself. I'm just going to excuse myself and go, you know what? You continue to do what you need to do, and then we'll meet on the flip side, which is no big deal. There's no problems with that, and He knows what he did. I know what I did, and that's it.
That's because you're both men. You're not in high school anymore.
No, exactly. I mean, I could easily go, oh, F him, and he could be doing the same to me. But we're not going to do that because we have to look outside the box too of just ourselves, of who is involved, who's watching, who relies on us, all sorts of things. What kind of mod y'all hitting on? I prefer the Aegis. I think I'm saying that right. Legend, because they are durable. I want to go flying in a bike wreck, and I was still able to hit afterward. That's a good thing.
Well, I love that mod. It is, they say, indestructible, but I've destroyed like 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, it happens.
Now, this is a smock. It's like the Ford Pinto of mods.
It's true. It's true. But hey, look, I got smock right here. Look.
It's filling a need right now until I could replace it with something that I like. Probably be another Regis or maybe something a little different.
Right. And that's hardwired to answer that right there is, he says BD likes to talk over you. He wouldn't let you talk. That's not cool. If he wanted to insist he was right, he should have just agreed to disagree and let go. Yes, 100%. Hence why I left. Like normally I would just sit through and just deal with it. But when someone is so adamant about something and they've got such a hair in their ass about something, then they're just going to continue to go down the road that they're going to want to go down. So I recognize that. It's simple. I just saw that he was stuck on something. He was unwilling after the 3rd time asking him to move on, that, okay, you're not going to move on. So now I'm going to dismiss myself because I'm not going to continue this roundabout where we're just going to continue the whole time. And then it just causes drama anyways. So why not just remove yourself from the situation?
And I think the perfect way to describe it was he was target fixated on a certain key point.
It's a fixation, and that can actually work totally against you. Now it can work great for you in certain aspects, but when you do it,
one yet.
I wouldn't think that there is much, to be honest. I'm just leaning on the side of caution, I guess. But at the same token, I don't see there being a benefit to being hyper focused on one particular aspect. If you're going to do that, then you miss
the big picture.
You miss the big picture, exactly. And that's kind of what I was getting at. But it's all good.
If you target fixated, let's say on my left lane for crime, then you're going to miss.
You're going to miss everything else
in this stream.
Totally. And that's a really good point, actually. But that's exactly, Gremlin. I'm not going to spin my wheels over something that I know that he's not going to move past in that moment. Now he's going to move past it later. He's not going to move past it now. So I'm just going to go ahead. You know what I mean? But that's what I do in my particular case. Now, have I had to do that a lot? No. You know what I mean? It's very seldom, but it does happen. We're going to have strong opinions about things, and we're going to have strong disagreements about these things too. But you have to, like what we said earlier, is to respect each other's opinions on things. Now, that's the whole thing, is I was spitting fact. There's a little bit different when I was there's an objective fact. You know what I mean? And that's what, you can't argue the fact. And that's what I was upset about. It's like, dude, I'm giving you the fact and you're not moving on from it. So it's like, okay, well, I can only do that. Hardware says, I like the UL Crown tank, and I came upon the Falcon Sinker tank, which was really good. I quit looking constantly at different mods and tanks. It's as bad as it's as bad as a habit as bikes. Yeah, it really is. I mean, I remember the UL Crown tanks back when they were made, like in 2012, 2013. So that's what's crazy about that, is like, I've been vaping since 2011 when they first came out with those e-cigs, you know, where they lit up at the end. That was hilarious. It tasted like nothing. It was garbage. Yeah. But it got me off the cigarettes though. I don't know if you guys know this about me though, but I smoked 2 packs of Marlboro Reds a day for 7 years. That was a terrible habit. So now I have this terrible habit, but that's the way of the road. Yeah. But guys, with that being said, we're 2 hours and almost 10 minutes into the stream. Do you guys want to have any closing statements? Hey, last thoughts?
Just live your best life, because if you don't, nobody will.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
I think
It's a
from the standpoint of what we're talking about, just do what makes you happy, and don't, as to your point with BD, and sometimes you just have to walk away from things. And I'm talking
Yeah.
about from the creator space. I mean, you can listen to us go on for hours, but and you can listen to anybody. Find what works for you and just embrace it. There's no right answer.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and that's the kind of the another thing that's a little bit broad is that it's not the same for everyone. It's going to be
No.
different, and the way that people run their business, which each YouTube channel is a separate business, it's you can't and you don't want to necessarily tell another creator what they need to do. I mean, do you want someone to tell you how to run your business? You know, and that's something that is intricate and something that is hard to deal with, but at the same time it is a business and it's to be treated as such. If you treat it like that, it should be treated like a business.
100%.
But yeah, so much love and respect to you guys. Thank you guys, both of you. We got the Bri the Biker guys. Follow them on social media. I have their cards right here. Follow Bri the Biker on Instagram, Bri_the_biker. And then Dr. Harley, follow him on Instagram as well at dr.harley1. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the videos, guys. That is essentially when you guys share it out. That is the way of the best way I can put it is word of mouth on the internet. When you share it, it's so valuable. And when you guys also like the video, that's like handing a creator $5. You know what I mean? Because it really does push it lets YouTube know, hey, this was a decent piece of content. We're going to put it out there. So
Absolutely.
With that being said, you guys, I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart, both of you and also everyone in the chat. We will see you guys here tomorrow morning for the Biker News Report with Black Dragon. And I'm going to lead you guys off with the new channel song.
Nice.
So, yes, it's a quick one. You know what I mean? We're not going to be drugged out for, an hour listening to something. We're going to listen to a minute little thing. So with that being said, guys, I'll see you guys here in a little bit. Appreciate you guys.
See you guys.
Peace.
Absolutely. And guys, their YouTube channel, by the way, is in the description right now. If you hit the description, you'll have Bri's YouTube channel and you'll have Dr. Harley's channel as well. So it's right there. And just go into the description. So with that being said, I appreciate you and we'll see you guys here soon.